We all used to be in that same building. Radio, TV, film used to be over in Savitz a very, very long time ago. That's where they used to be located. But I was thinking about some of the things that I saw recently that you all did promo. My good friend Donalyn Pomper, who's actually Dr. Donalyn Pomper now, she's at the University of Oregon. She used to be the editor of promo back in 1982, 83. There are other folks who were part of my graduating class. Some of them stayed in PR, others did not. They used their degree as a jumping off point to doing other things in sales and marketing. Some of them went into teaching. Some of them went into publishing. So there were, a good variety of us who, who graduated. And as I say, for me personally, I was very fortunate because of my involvement with the chapter to have had an opportunity to meet really great people in the Delaware Valley who helped me with getting my first job. And I really credit that to my involvement with this chapter and the wonderful opportunities it gave me to, do internships and network. And, let's face it, I mean, being the chapter president, yeah, it's a lot of work. But it also, you are representing this organization. And with that, it sounds like you got the world on your shoulders sometimes, but it's also an opportunity for you to, meet people because you are, representing your chapter as a leader of a student organization for a university. Which at the time for me was a college, but even regardless of that, it was still a nice way to meet people. When I was chapter president, the only awards that we had at the time, we didn't have outstanding chapter in the nation. We hadn't even thought about that as something that we could have applied for. But we did, and you guys, those of you who have had me in class know when I talk to you about PRaction and how that's near and dear to my heart, it's because it's something that as a senior, Tony actually saw that as a need for our chapter and, really tasked me along with some other of my classmates to put together a straw man, a template for what that kind of an agency would look like. And it was at the time, it was really bare bones. And I think we had two clients, one of whom we'd put together a slideshow for, and the other one, I can't even remember. I think we might have been doing writing press releases or something, but nobody paid us. It was all local, but it gave us some really good experience. And it was a lot of fun because not everybody was, doing internships at the time. So with that, it kind of got the ball rolling. And that's why I'm always so proud to see how that not only do we have a great chapter here, but that the agency, PRaction, continues to thrive. It's just remarkable. It really is. So for me, I'm just, I just feel like, if there are things that you all as students are experiencing or seeing from chapter members that you want to ask questions to me about, I'm happy to answer them. I would just say that in the, in the overall scheme of things with the job market being what it is right now, don't pigeonhole yourself to feeling so much pressure to, I have to get a PR job right away, a job in public relations, because there might be other opportunities out there that will eventually lead you to where you really want to be, but don't put that pressure on yourselves to, feel like the first job you get out of college has to be the job. Okay, so I never want you guys to feel that way because there's lots of great opportunities out there and you might miss out on some other good things if, you're too focused on one. So I'm going to stop there and pass on to the next person unless you have questions for me. I don't know how you're running this, Dave, so feel free to.
We're just gonna hold off all the questions till the end, but thank you for speaking. Mr. Lucach, now it's your chance to talk. So.
Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Chris Lucach. I was PRSSA president in 2004. My PRSSA presidency was extraordinarily consequential in my professional and personal lives. My wife, as it happens, was PRSSA president in 2003. We met in Dr. Fitzgerald's office at one point when we used to meet weekly, and she made us bring her coffee. Dr. Fitzgerald, that is, not.
Remember that?
Yeah, we had to stop at Wawa and get your coffee on the way. But so we met there. My first boss out of school was a woman named Ann Klein, who co-founded the PRSSA chapter with Tony Fulginiti way back when. Curiously enough, I think most of the folks chatting with you tonight at some point passed through the doors of AKCG or AKA. Linda, you were what, our second employee of the firm, or
yeah, really? It was actually number 12, I think, or something. It was, okay. Yeah. But yeah, I worked for Anna Jerry for 8 years.
Yeah. Dara works there now. Ariana worked there for a short time. I don't know if she's on. Griffin interned with us. I don't know, Taylor, I guess you're the only one that somehow slipped through the cracks. And
I know, what was I thinking? Can I intern now? Is it too late?
No, you cannot. Vanessa's interning for us now. So it's truly extraordinary, I think, how many folks have passed through what I think is a really quality firm, and it's where I've stayed ever since. My story is an odd one. I mean, it's all about networking, and it is indeed. I was really consumed after graduation with putting together the Outstanding Chapter binder, which felt like a really big deal. It was a really big deal. In 2000, it's this big. We won, which was really cool that year. But I just never got around to looking for a job. I think I went on one interview, and I was coming up on May, and it was around the time when I had to either figure something out here in South Jersey or move back home to Bergen County in a tiny house. And if you have met me, I'm a pretty big guy, and my whole family's pretty big people. And I didn't want to go back to Bergen County. So, but as it happens, I was at the Chinese place on Delsey Drive one night. And they used to have a whole building. Now I think like half of it's like a wireless company or something, but or an art store. I don't know what it is. But I was there, and I bumped into a woman named Tara Bennett, who was PRaction president the year before, and she had been working for Ann Klein & Associates at the time. And I just happened to bump into her on a Thursday, and she said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I bumped into you. Someone resigned today. We're going to have an opening shortly. We're going to have an opening soon." So that was on a Thursday night. On Friday night, I talked to Professor Moscatelli, who was running the day-to-day of the firm at the time, John Moscatelli. And so I went in for an interview on the Monday, and they offered me a job on the spot. Now, at that point, we had Ann Klein as our speaker at a regional activity that we had, an overnight regional activity on crisis communications. John Moscatelli was our graduation speaker that year before he was, before he was teaching, at least with any frequency. Or maybe he was just adjuncting at that point. But it's the core of my professional network, and frankly, my personal network was all really formed within about like 24 extremely consequential months at Bozorth. I've been at the same, I am technically a millennial. I've bucked the trend and stayed at the same job since. I was brought in as one of the owners of the firm a few years into my time there, and now I'm the sole owner of the firm, so I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. But it's my PRSSA presidency, beyond the things that I learned, was extraordinarily consequential in my life. I can trace back just about everything that I've done since to the network I've built and to the contacts that I made. But it's also, I mean, it's extremely encouraging to see how deep the roots run here in the Philadelphia area, across the Mid-Atlantic, and beyond that. It's really encouraging to see the folks you get exposed to by virtue of them coming to PRSSA meetings, as these folks are graciously doing today. It's the well runs much deeper, and don't ever be afraid to ask your professors, to ask folks like us, the past presidents, who we know, whom we can make introductions to, because there's a lot of Rowan grads out there that have spread far beyond where I've gone, which is a block from the from the College of Communication building right now, and they're all really quite keen to help. The resources are all there, whether you're in leadership of PRSSA or not, if you're willing to ask for it. And I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. Now we have Miss Polari.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I don't really know how much I can share aside from what Chris has already shared. But I was president from 2011 to 2012, and it was a very valuable experience for me. I think being involved in PRSSA gave me such a pre-professional experience in a couple of ways. One being getting comfortable speaking in front of large groups of people. I think it's such a fundamental practice to, take in and really help yourself thrive in. And I think that really helped me understand my weaknesses as well as my strengths. But I also think it helped me understand how to delegate work and manage a team before I ever even knew that was going to be something a little bit further down the line in my career. And that all goes back to being involved in PRSSA. When you think about being on a team of people that have different personalities, different ways of working, you learn how to work around that. And you also learn expectations of not only your team, but also of your members. So I think that helped me into my professional career where I am now with Chris at AKCG. I've been there for almost 7 years. I too am a millennial and buck that trend. I've only had 2 jobs in post-college. And I think I never really thought about how PRSSA would help me in that way, and helping manage client expectations and managing a team, and for a while running the internship program. Shout out to our interns here. I think aside from that, it gave me some sense of value and understanding myself. Again, I mentioned strengths and weaknesses. I think it's super important to understand what you're really good at, but better yet, to understand what you're not so good at so you can work on those things. But as far as advice, I would say that one of the big things that I did was participate in a lot of informational interviews. And my first info interview was actually an in-person interview, because I did some over the phone as well. I actually did one with Charlotte Felcher where Taylor was, and I think Taylor interned there at SFPR. But Anne Klein had given me my first in-person informational interview. And I was just asking her questions, advice. I had seen her attend our chapter events before. And I kind of like lightly begged for a job. And she was like, "We don't have any openings, but I think what you're doing is really great. You're asking a lot of great questions. You're presenting yourself well." And 2.5 years later, I ended up at the agency, which was just crazy how everything kind of came full circle for me. And similar to Chris, I can tie a lot of my professional success to being involved in PRSSA. I think that's about it.
Great, thank you so much. Now we have Mr. Gallagher, who is our president from last year.
Dave, I swear, I thought beforehand if you called me Mr. Gallagher, I was gonna lose it. So weird. I feel weird being here. This is crazy. I know all of you, so this is really exciting for me. But I was just Cam asked me before if I was ready for the panel right before I came on here, and I said, no, I don't feel like I fit in here. Chris and Dara learned so much from Professor Pollock. Like, this is wild. But, you know, the one thing that I would say, my biggest lesson learned from PRSSA that I can take with me through my professional career is it kind of gave me confidence. Because I remember when I did the e-board for the first time, the only reason I did it was because they had a position, PRaction communication director, that they couldn't fill. And so Nick Sammartino, who had the position at the time, reached out to me, asked me if I wanted to do it. I did it. And then that year went really well. I got confidence a little bit. I started getting a better understanding of PR as a whole, social media as a whole. And then I was asked if I wanted to run for president. And I was like, no, like I shouldn't be that. Like that, I barely am doing this minor role to begin with. I was convinced into it. I was the only person who ran. And I remember just, again, feeling this sense of I shouldn't be here. The same way I felt as the only junior on the e-board the year before. I felt that same way in the room where, again, Grace, Dave, Cameron, people that are here, also Alyssa Bauer and Sierra. It's like, these people are way smarter than me. Like, I should not be the leader here. I should not be calling the shots. It ended up being a great experience, and working with those people gave me a lot of confidence in A, my leadership ability, but B, at the same time, my ability to sort of get things done a little bit. I got that confidence. And so now that I'm in a full-time position with Stern Strategy Group, I don't have that sense of not belonging anymore, because through PRSSA, I sort of built up my confidence a little bit, built up my abilities. And for anybody who's here, who's thinking about running for president, of course, but also at the same time, doing an e-board position, or whether or not you want to come to the next meeting, my only message would just be, you're here, you're in the right spot, you belong here, regardless of how it feels right now. This is going to benefit you so well in the years to come. So I commend everyone for just being here in the first place, and I'm excited to field your questions. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Miss Feldschneider.
You said it correctly. Great job. It's a terrible last name, and I always get nervous when people say it. Griffin, to your point, I also feel like I don't belong here. I still feel I used to sit and listen to Dara, Chris, and Professor Pollock talk, and it's just so crazy to now be in this position. So I'm very honored to be here. I was president from 2015 to 2016. Actually, as Chris was talking about the Star Chapter Award, I was sitting here thinking, or Outstanding Chapter, I was thinking, what was I doing with Tom Logue the end of my senior year? We were putting together that binder. And I just remember going through it. And as I'm sitting here, I still don't know if we won. So I Googled, and we did. So we won. So that's exciting. So what an honor. All this time I thought I did the chapter bit like dirty, but I guess we won. So that's exciting. But when I was PRSSA president, it was kind of a weird time in our history. We were coming off of, for so long, we had won so many awards, and we always had that, we won the awards, we won the awards. And then finally, we just kept saying we won, but why aren't we winning? So it was like that weird transition of we won, but like, what are we doing now? So in my year, I kind of took a step back and said, let's go back to our basics. Like, let's see what we can do to fix this. Let's just kind of start over and get back to that Star Chapter that we were when we first started. When chapter first started, let's go back to our roots. So it was kind of a weird year for me, but it was really rewarding at the end. I knew when I left, it was in an awesome place. I had a really, really cool VP that ran everything, Caddy. I'll never forget her. And it was just really awesome to be part of that team. But PRSSA really got me to where I am today. I was very involved with Organ Donor Day, which I know you all know about. And through that, I actually got my first real world job. So being involved with Gifts of Life, I was really passionate about, organ and tissue donation. And through Organ Donor Day, I got to meet my boss that I had for 3 years. So I was at Gift of Life, which is a nonprofit, for 3 years. And I loved it so much. I went from just it was called the communications liaison. So I was kind of the middleman of community relations. So I would talk to people, really focusing on that part of PR. So using the public speaking skills that Dara was talking about. I'm still a nervous public speaker, but it'll get better eventually. But you know, doing that to the public, and then I transitioned to event coordination. So I didn't really go the agency route. I went event coordinating in a nonprofit. So I was there for about 3 years, and because I was on the PRSSA e-board, I knew PRSSA people. And one person, her name was Nicole, texted me saying, "Hey, there's a job opening at Rowan. Are you interested?" And I'm a millennial, so I went to a new job and I applied for a position at Rowan, and it's a dream come true. I now work at social media at Rowan, and it really is so rewarding to be back at Rowan and to work here. So PRSSA led me to where I am. It really plays such a huge role in my PR story, my life story. It just will always mean so much to me. Sorry I rambled, but I just love PRSSA.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for speaking to us. If any general members, e-board members have any questions they'd like to ask, go for it. Just raise your hands, you know, be polite.
I could start. So for those of you that are APRs, I would ask, when in your career did you decide to, you know, become an APR, and how has that affected you after completing it?
I can jump in, getting you, Chris, before you jump in. I actually was encouraged by Chris and our COO, Mike, to try it out and see if I can go for it. They believed in me. And I, at the time, was on, I think this year will be 3 years. Oh, I'm due up for accreditation soon. But I think I was in my career at that point for about 6 years, 5 or 6 years, and had been at the agency for about 4. And I looked at it. I think a lot of what pushed me to do it was their confidence in me. It's a lot of work. And I feel like about 5 years made sense. 6 years in the industry made sense, to be able to understand what it is, what you're trying to accomplish. And I was able to do that. And I think really because of the confidence and help of my APR chair, as well as Chris and Mike, I was able to accomplish that. But it's very valuable experience. I think one of the big things that I can credit to Rowan's program is we are hounded with the PR foundations, the fundamentals of PR. And that is something that I feel like maybe not a lot of schools get, or students gain from their program, but understanding the fundamentals in school helped me understand what I was trying to accomplish with the APR.
Yeah, it's Chris. Well, you know that. I chair the accreditation now for, there's a New Jersey chapter of PRSA, which I wouldn't be in a rush to join. I'd probably stick with the Philadelphia one, or one of the competing organizations like PPRA, which is my preference. But I do it anyway. I'm fond of the APR. I'm fond of the designation. So one of the things that I see a lot is people feel they're too junior to get their APR until they immediately feel that they're too senior to get their APR. There's not really this understanding of what the sweet spot entails for when you should get it. I got it I think at the end of the time when they required you to have 5 years under your belt. So I did it right at 5 years. You know, it's probably a touch easier to do when you are a little closer to graduation, because some of the theory stuff, some of the history stuff, you just retain more innately. But it's a really good bridge from you know, when you're getting to the area where you sort of building some gut, right? Where you're sort of building some, I know that this is the thing I want to do instinctively, but I can't write down why it's the thing I want to do. That's a great time to get your APR, because it's like bridges you back to your academic training and the theoretical training that you get at Rowan, and you don't really apply in practice a lot. It means a lot to us at AKCG. It doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. That's okay. It's worth doing for yourself. It's worth doing for that validation and the validation of your peers. And there are folks like me, who is it, Jake in PRSSA Philly, who's doing it now, a Rowan grad and former Rowan professor as well, who will guide you through it when you're at that point. It doesn't have to be 5 years. If when you graduate, if you want to talk about when the right time is for you, we can certainly talk about that. But I'm glad that I did it. I encourage everyone to do it. They feel a great sense of value and self-worth. And the funny thing is, I mean, like as APR chair, I'll get questions from professionals and they'll say, I can't decide whether to get my master's or whether to get my APR. To which I say, well, from a practical standpoint, APR is like $400. Like the APR is considerably cheaper. And if you got an itch, that's not a bad way to go. So.
Yeah, awesome. Both of your answers were great. Thank you, guys.
I'll ask a question. As someone who is a junior, I was just wondering if there's anything that you wish you had known either prior to being PRSSA president or prior to going out into the field, like pursuing career-wise.
I can answer. I might be a different opinion, but I think it's important to know that it's okay to not have a job right after you graduate. If you need that time to just take a breath and recoup, that's fine. It worked. I took 6 months off in between graduating and starting a job. I did have an internship in between that time, so I kept busy, but don't stress if you don't have a job right away after you graduate. I think everything will fall into place, especially now. It is possible to get a job after you graduate, but it's not, you don't want to stress yourself and ruin the end of your senior year. I know you're a junior, but when you are a senior, because you don't have something lined up. And as a junior, just really enjoy it. And I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah, just going off of what Taylor said, I think another point to make is also it's just A, it's okay to not have a job after you graduate, because I didn't at first, but also B, it's okay to fail in general. Because I remember when I was a junior, especially, that was the big year for me, where I used to take it so harsh when I would get a paper back where Dr. Novak would tear apart one of my papers or something like that, or a presentation didn't go the way I wanted it to. And I would let it beat me up. But one of the things I learned senior year, and especially now that I'm in a career, is just you're going to fail. It's going to happen. And it makes you so much better because of it. You learn so much from the failures that you just become a better professional, student, president, and professional in general. So that's definitely just a general point, a general rule of thumb is it's good to fail.
I have a question. Oh,
Um,
no, you go first. You go first.
Okay. What is your favorite PRSSA memory?
I can start. I'll give everybody else a chance to think more about it. So when I was chapter president and the year prior to that, so when I was junior and again when I was a senior, going to national conferences was not something that, you all know you do it now, well, except for this past year, which, is completely different now. But that was just such a cool thing because, going on a class trip prior to that when you were in high school, it's a lot different when you're in college and you get to go with your friends representing the university you're attending, and you're with other many thousands of other students who are have the same area of study as you, and having a blast because you're meeting people from all over the world, all over the country, who are in the same pre-professional organization, right? So it was a lot of fun. The first year we went to Chicago when I was a junior, so that was 81. And then 82, fall of 82, we went to San Francisco. And what was really awesome for me going to San Francisco was I had completed an internship that summer before with Colonial Penn Group Your parents, if you ask your parents about the tall ships in Philadelphia, the very first time they came to Philadelphia was in the summer of '82. I worked on the big special event. Colonial Penn actually helped to sponsor the tall ships coming into Philadelphia. But anyway, they actually paid for me. They paid my airfare and my registration to go to the national conference in San Francisco. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I thought that was so awesome. You know, I mean, that was something that I would never have dreamed of. My parents were just like, what? How is that happening? And for me, you know, I mean, I was the first one in my family to graduate from college. So that was a really, just the whole thing of, you know, being able to go to 2 national events like that, just remarkable. And I forgot to say a funny thing was, you know, talking about the triad earlier, was one of our big fundraisers. I mean, I know you guys do lots of really cool stuff now, but we used to sell pretzels in the lobby and the triad. So that was and I don't know how many years that continued on for, but I remember Tony going to the Federal Baking Company and the pretzel place in Philly, South Philly, picking up like 2 big crates of pretzels, saying, here you go. And we would sell them, and boom, we were out of them in an hour. It was amazing. But so those are my fun memories.
Is it weird, Linda, that mine went to the pretzel sales as well? We did it. Sarah, do they do pretzel sales year? Did you do them? So it was at least another 20 years, Linda. Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. But
We
it
did
was
pretzels.
tinkering out. It was starting to tinker out.
Yeah, it's not right.
Yeah, we bought them for 50 cents and we sold them for $1 at the time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was the best thing ever.
I remember that was when we were in Bozeworth, we used to share space with the ad club, and Charlie Volpe, I don't know if he hasn't taught there in a while, but Charlie used to, we had to share what we called the closet, but we had to share an office. And once a year, Charlie would have a garage sale to raise money for the ad club, and he would take all of PRSSA's things and try to sell them in the hallway.
Shameful.
We had to go like take our stuff back from Charlie. You know, my mind went to the conferences too, Linda. What an important experience. And I have contacts on from a national sense that I met there that I'm still in touch with, and I track the trajectory of their careers. We had a really good organ donor day. We managed to, I don't know how they did it. 2004 was a different time before 08 and 09, but my gosh, we just got a pile of money from the SGA for this, and we booked 4 or 5 bands. Total cost was like $30,000 for these bands that we booked, and we had 2,000 or 3,000 people come through the gym that day for a concert, and we had like carnival equipment and bouncy castles and things. It was pretty extreme. It's why we got the outstanding chapter. Who am I kidding? It was because of the organ donor day that I had absolutely nothing to do with, but really phenomenal memories from those things.
Lindsay, I think you're trying to get me in trouble here. I'm not going to let you. So meeting Cameron, of course, was my favorite PRSSA memory. But my favorite PRSSA specific memory was it was right before the school left for the pandemic. And I remember sitting in Dr. Novak's office. And Dr. Novak, you have to remember this too. We were there as you, me, Dr. Fitzgerald, and Alyssa Bauer. And we were kind of all sitting there and saying like, oh yeah, we're going to be off from school for 2 weeks, but like, just in case we don't see each other again, like it's been fun working with you, like as a joke. And then as it turned out, it wasn't a joke. And so we then had to, that 2 weeks of sort of trying to figure everything out. How are we going to keep this going? How are we going to get binders together? How are we going to, fulfill these promises that we made to these guest speakers? That was really exciting for me and fun. And it was sort of one of those things where my e-board came together as a really great cohesive unit to get that one done. So yeah, that was definitely a fun one and some great experience too.
All right, I guess it's my turn. All right, for those of you who are in PRSA, did you ever take the test? And if not, would you ever take it? Like the big test? I forget what it's called, but like the one that only like a few people ever take it. Like it has like 500 questions. I forget the name of it.
I didn't take it. I guarantee you I'd fail if I did. I definitely didn't take it though.
What is it? I don't know what it is.
Like it's like Dr. Fitzgerald took, or no, she didn't take it.
I want to take it.
It's like I think Dr. Muscatelli took it.
I'm
The
intrigued.
APR,
Is it the
No, it's different. I'm pretty sure it's different.
the fellow, I guess, but you don't take a test for that.
Does the APR, does that have a lot of questions for you?
It has like 300 questions, maybe.
And it's timed.
It's got a lot. It's got a lot of questions, and now only about 2/3 of them are actually count towards your score. Most of them are just beta questions. They're testing out for future, or 1/3 of them are just beta questions. They're testing out for future tests. But here's the one thing that people don't talk about a lot with the APR. You actually need like a 62 to pass. That's the one good thing about the APR. It's hard. When you take it, if that's what you're talking about, I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah, you find yourself saying like, well, I know that, and there's actually a sample test. I'll post the link in the comments just for fun, but there's a sample test that you can take. It's about 20 questions online. You can see it. There will be a question like, you are a communicator for a chemical plant, and you learn of a spill at your plant. What are the first 2 things you will do? Write a news release, segment audiences, plan, or this is the seemingly completely random list, and they want you to choose the 2 things you do first. And you'd say, in reality, I would have already done these things, and I do all these things at once. So you have to kind of just run through your brain. All right, well, what would Cutlip and Center say, or the authors of the textbooks I had to read? How would they prioritize this? And you have to kind of rank it. There's also like a section devoted to history. And maybe the history is 8% of the test. They tell you what percentage each category is in the final score of the test. And you say to yourself, well, if I need a 63 to pass, I don't need those 8 points. I'm not going to spend a second studying history. I'll just focus on the sections that I need the most. I need to be the most sharp on. So it's manageable. You want to prepare for it, to be sure. It's manageable if you remind yourself that the people that wrote it aren't necessarily the people you're spending every day with.
Yeah, I think it was that one. I'm gonna have to go. I'm pretty sure now that you're mentioning it.
I think that's it. I don't think I know what Professor Moscatelli does all day too well, and I can't think of anything else he's done. I think that's probably it.
Awesome. Thank you for the questions. Now it's time to move to our presidential speeches. I believe we only have one person running. So Sarah, whenever you're ready, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sarah McCabe. I am a junior here at Rowan University. I'm a dual major in public relations and advertising. Thank you all so much for coming. I've been a part of Rowan PRSSA, whether serving on our e-board or simply attending meetings, for about 2 years now. And I can honestly say that Rowan PRSSA has been an important chapter in the story of my college education. I first became a PR major at the start of my sophomore year. With an interest in student involvement and looking for experience outside of the classroom, I found myself an entirely brand new PR major at the first PRSSA meeting of that semester. I spent that year as a consistent attendee of PRSSA meetings and an active member of PRaction, gaining real-world experience with PR clients even earlier in my career than I ever expected. By this year, my junior year, I knew I wanted to be a more influential and more involved part of PRSSA. I was fortunate enough to become the firm vice president of PRaction, where I've had the opportunity to learn about what it truly means to be a leader. Working alongside my firm president, Cameron Hadley, and our advisors, Professor Schoenstein and Dr. Hong, I have witnessed great leadership skills that I hope to embody in my future as a PR professional. I have been able to practice my own leadership skills through this role as well. To me, peer leadership is a balance between acting as a role model and working as a team member. Leadership is about leading by example with mutual respect and partnership from fellow students. If I were to be elected president of this chapter of Rowan PRSSA, some of my goals would consist of continuing to build our general member engagement and setting a basis and structure for the next generation of PRSSA leaders, whether future semesters are virtual or in person. This academic year has brought changes and challenges, yet still presenting these new forms of growth for student learning and networking. I believe in combining both virtual and in-person growth for student learning and networking. I believe Rowan PRSSA allows students to reach new audiences and to welcome speakers from across the country. By opening up our channels to different types of students, with those studying fully online or in person, and to a larger range of communications professionals, we can expand our membership and our network. There is a certain rapport that the members of the Anthony J. Fulginiti Chapter of PRSSA uphold as students of dedication, excellence, and perseverance. We have the opportunity to make a difference, to grow together, to learn from one another. And leadership is not a responsibility that I take lightly. We are representative of what it means to be a part of Rowan University, and I hope to continue to raise the bar for PRSSA programs across the country. In the same way that this program has been an influential part of my story, I hope to be a defining chapter in the story of Rowan PRSSA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay,
Thank you.
so for formality, we are going to do a verbal vote over Zoom tonight. So don't forget to unmute yourself. So all in favor of electing Sarah as next year's Rowan PRSSA president, please say aye. Say aye.
Aye.
Is there
I don't know if I
any
have a vote.
opposed? Please say aye.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. So congratulations, Sarah. Sarah is officially our president-elect for the 21-22 school year. So congratulations to Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Okay. And then Dave, if you want to go into some closing remarks, I think we are nearing the end of our meeting tonight.
Congratulations, Sarah. You're going to be a great president. That's everything I have. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to come speak with us and join in on this panel. If anyone else has anything they'd like to say, there's still a couple minutes left, so feel free. But yeah, thank you all. So.
Yeah, thank you to everyone that joined us, past presidents and all of our guests. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys and inviting you guys back, even though we are virtual this year. So thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and
Welcome.
talk to us.
Welcome.
Awesome. All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Bye. Have a good
Everyone
Bye.
have a great week. See you guys.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for inviting us.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Good to see
Bye.
all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
I
Congrats, Sarah. I don't really know why I'm staying on.
Yay, Sarah. Just
Good job.
congratulations.
Thank
Yay. Cool.
Bye.
Just wanted to say thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. I'll see you guys soon.